What is up, everybody? It's Dr. Vibe, host and producer of the award-winning Dr. Vibe show. As always, I'd like to say you're blessed, highly favored, a magnet for miracles, and a solution for someone's problem. I'm also the coach and CEO of Express Your Vibe. Yes, Express Your Vibe Coaching and Communications. I am really excited about this conversation tonight. I've had the blessing and privilege of knowing Pepper Miller for the last 3 years. And our relationships got even better because what we've went through just to get on Blab with her, that has taken a new level of our relationship. And for those who do not know who Pepper Miller is, I'm going to read a little bit of her bio, but I'm telling you, I take half an hour just to cover everything, all the amazing things that she's done. So let's get down to it. Pepper Miller. We are going to start with a consumer research, trend analysis, and marketing strategy company. That's her group. The Pepper Miller Group was founded in 1985, and since then has been helping Fortune 500 companies understand how to effectively and positively market their products and messages to the African-American market. Some of her corporate clients include American Airlines, American Greetings, Allstate, General Motors, General Mills, GSK, Ford Motor Company, Hallmark Cards, Johnson & Johnson, Novartis, Procter & Gamble, and the Chicago Symphony Orchestra. Herself and co-author Herb Kemp launched the landmark cultural marketing book called What's Black About It? Insights to Increase Your Share of a Changing African-American Market back in 2005. She also served as a research consultant for the largest study about African Americans to date, the Black America Today segmentation study commissioned by Radio 1 and conducted by Yankovic. That was back in 2008. Additionally, she serves as co-research partner and consultant for the first ever segmentation study on African American women commissioned by Essence Magazine. She has done so much more on top of that. She's been invited to be guest speaker at many corporations, including Procter & Gamble, General Mills, Colgate, Coors, Home Depot, Macy's, and pharmaceutical companies like GlaxoSmithKline and Pfizer. I am honored and truly blessed to have Ms. Pepper Miller on the Dr. Vibe show. Welcome, Pepper. How are you?
I want to say all that stuff you said, blessed and highly favored. I am blessed and highly favored. I just want to make one correction, and in addition to the bio, it is the Hunter Miller Group, not the Pepper Miller Group. And, don't forget my new book, Black Still Matters in Marketing, 2012. So we have two books that under my belt, which is really good, and I'm not being graceful in putting that back up there, just to add to the bio. So, but I am great, and I'm delighted to be on your show again, and this time I don't know, on Blab, which is nice. I think the first time we did I do it just once before, or did I do it twice before?
Well, just giving a little history for the audience. The first time Pepper was on my conversation piece was via podcast back in 2013, but we have kept in touch over those years. Hey, Avalaura, if you want to jump in, I would love to. I promise you to be a co-host, so I want you to dial in whenever you can. But yes, so we've kept a relationship up for the last 3 years, 3.5 years. And as you know, I always say relationships are the foundation of everything.
Yes, they are.
This is part. So, Pepper, how did you get started in this crazy world of market research, all that kind of stuff?
Yes. Well, I had the opportunity to work at J. Walter Thompson 1,000 years ago. It was an ad agency, and at one time it was the second largest ad agency in Chicago. I live in Chicago. Leo Burnett is the largest ad agency in Chicago. I believe it still is. J. Walter Thompson. Oh, hello, lovely lady.
Hello.
So J. Walter is the second largest ad agency. So I learned about market research at J. Walter Thompson. I did not work in the research department. I wanted to work in the research department. I was working in what they called office services, which I loved that job. You never had the same day twice. I was doing researching alternative cost savings alternatives. I was moving people around. It was a great, great, great job. And I wanted to get in the research department. I went to Northwestern. They had a special 4A's program that the company sent me to, and I was not anyway. I didn't get in the research department, and I was just very disappointed. So a girlfriend and I decided to start our own research company. We stumbled in the business, starting our own research company. She and I parted ways a year or so later, and I continued on. But what happened, though, was I started knocking on doors for business. And when I showed up in this brown skin back in the late 80s, I was told over and over again, we will call you, Pepper, when we have something for you related to Black people. And I was like, you talking to me? So I was only given the Black projects. But what I learned, though, is there was this big disconnect in terms of how marketers portrayed us, how they misunderstood us. And so I just dived in, and I decided that I would be the expert then. So I found my way as I was pushed into this. And I don't like to say pigeonholed, but I was pushed into this direction. And it's been a journey ever since, and it's been really, really great. Oops.
No problem. Well,
Yes.
I am blessed again to have Avalaura join us, and I had promised her many months ago when this happened that she would be part of it. And she said to me the other day, well, I got something to do, and I hope I can make it back in time.
I've seen, and your name is Laura?
Avalaura.
Well, you know what? You have co-hosted with Dr. Vibe before, haven't you?
I've been on, but I've never actually co-hosted
well, maybe
with him.
Because I remember seeing that face, that lovely face. So I remember you. So nice to see you again.
And we talked whenever. How long ago was that, Dr. Vibe?
We chatted via phone about 4 or 5 months ago, okay. And I'm, as I said, I promised Avalaura that I wanted her to be part of this conversation. And since she is out of her Boot to Boom contract for the summer, I was so happy to get her on. So Avalaura, thank you for taking the time. And I know you're going to make the conversation better. And feel free to ask any sort of questions. And we do have a seat open throughout the conversation. So if people want to come on in, ask a question, the seat is open. We only have till the top of the hour, and it's going fast and furious.
Yes, it will.
Avalaura, do you have any questions you want to ask? Because I can keep on asking. Is there anything you want to ask?
I just got here. So was the question how you got started? Yeah. I'm assuming.
Yeah, that's the first thing.
Okay. So basically, it sounds like they pigeonholed you, but you made the best of it.
Absolutely, absolutely. Because research. When we talk about research, a lot of people don't understand what I do. Black, white. A lot of people don't understand what market research is, but it is the study of people, places, and things. And so our focus is on consumer research and African-American consumer research. So I built the business and my experience on what's called qualitative research. And qualitative research allows you to ask questions, the why question, and go deep. So focus groups, one-on-one interviews, in-home interviews is how I built the business. Now, quantitative research is when you're doing large studies where you're measuring and projecting to larger populations. So that's where your online surveys come in, phone surveys, those people that used to stop you in the mall, that might have been us hiring those people to interview you. So I love the qualitative research. I love doing the focus groups, and I would moderate groups personally. I don't so much anymore, but I started off doing that. And as I listened to Black people talk about their lives and then living Black and understanding how we view things differently, marketers weren't picking that up. They were missing a lot of insights about us. For years and years, and even still today, marketers, one of the biggest mistakes is to not talk about differences. And so my platform for years and years has been, hey, Donna, has been to talk about how we Black people are different, even though we have an Avalaura, we have a Dr. Vibe, we have a Donna Smith Bellinger, who's a wonderful coach, and who are advancing. We've been more exposed. We're better educated. We're earning higher incomes than anyone else before. Black culture is different, and we are different. Not only from mainstream, many of us, not all of us, we are different from each other in very meaningful ways. So that has been my platform, to talk about how we're different, and we're different but not deficient. And I think when we think about differences, it makes us uncomfortable to talk about them. We feel it's rude, but that's where the big insights come from. And so that's those two books that I wrote. I talk about these differences and give lots of examples of how we're different but not deficient, and how marketers need to adopt that attitude of looking at us differently. Yes, we speak English, but are you talking to me? Are you talking to Donna? Are you talking to Dr. Vibe? Because we have different cultures. So that's been my platform ever since the late 80s, is to point that out and to add value to the African-American market, because we are so much more than the stereotypes.
Absolutely.
Well, I just want to welcome some people. Welcome to Sam_Teague, who says he's buying that book. What's Black about it? So
and Black still matters in marketing. Yay. Yeah. I'm going to show them periodically. Yes. Good. Wonderful.
Right. And
Black
Donna,
Still Matters is an absolutely fabulous book. I had the privilege, Pepper asked me to review it and to write a little blurb about it when she came out with that. And I told her, I was like, well, I'm only, 3/4 of the way done. And she was like, you're reading it? I'm like, yeah. I thought that when someone asks you to, put something in about a book, you're supposed to read the book.
So many people don't. Yeah, I appreciate it.
Yeah, but I will tell you that the conversation that she has within Black Still Matters, as much as I've been exposed to, and my currently really multicultural family, she has a gift for doing two things. Number one, opening the lines of communication and making you really acknowledge how we segment ourselves. So it's not all, their fault. We segment ourselves in certain ways. And she is able to take this information and translate it into the dollars and cents that gets the ear and the attention of the general market. We all know that that's all that really matters to them.
Yes.
So she has that gift of being able to do these wonderful eye-catching presentations that are full of energy, full of facts. They grab you, they hold you. Her books grab you and hold you. They entertain, they educate, and they're just must-reads.
Oh, thank you, Donna. Thank you, Donna. Donna has
That's all I got to say.
A coach for me as well. So thank you very much. And that Dr. Vibe, I hope you have her on your show too, as well. She'd be a great guest and a great host as well.
I just want to build on what Donna said, Pepper, on how are Blacks segmenting themselves. That's a very interesting point. So can you break that down? That's a very important point that I think not only people listening live or watching live, but on the replay, they need to hear that. So can you address that?
Well, and it's not as if we are thinking about it and intentionally doing it, but if we back up a little bit, the one characteristic that differentiates us from other ethnic segments is our history of slavery, post-slavery, and discrimination. And that is a huge marketing insight. And this is the same thing that I say to my non-Black clients, that we need to understand this, because that historical lens is based on a different beginning that we have. So we have a different way of seeing things and how we are perceived, and we care about that. So as a result of that history, a lot of our behavior is about countering negative stereotypes for the for the Black consumer market. It is also true for multicultural and LGBT too here in America, that those groups too are constantly countering negative stereotypes, but ours is based on our history. So as a result, you have these different segments then. So for example, let's just look at the millennials. Millennials are the go-to segment. Marketers have a tendency to lump all the millennials together, particularly because they are more comfortable with diversity and race. But the Black millennials are, if you look at their, I call it like a mindset continuum. On the far end of one of the mindsets, you have these millennials who have assimilated. And that's not a judgment, it's real. So our friends, the parents of these millennials, wanted the best for them, best education. So they moved these kids, many of them, from an all Black environment to all white, or they've never lived in an all Black environment. So these kids live in an all white environment, and so they've assimilated into that culture. They have very few Black friends. Most of their friends are diverse, but many of them are white. So that's at the far end. And then at the other opposite end, you have the insulated millennials who are very insulated in the Black community. They've lived in the Black community all their life. These are the kids with the hats on backwards. They're like the yo dude, what's up? The language, the baggy pants, the hip hop music at the far end of that. And that is where all of our we talk about the trends come from that end of the spectrum and not the assimilated end of the spectrum. And then there's in the middle, the worldly kids who are mostly have diverse friends, but their closest friends are Black, as the closest friends for the people on the opposite side. And so then you got these people in the middle, but the worldly people kind of go back and forth and back and forth. Those are different mindset segments. I think there's about 11 million Black millennials, but about 80 or 85% of them have a majority of Black friends. And so what we're seeing is, as a result of what's happening in the media, they're learning about their Blackness later. I'm a boomer. I learned that I was Black when I was 7. My father got a job at Albany State. It's Albany State University now, but it's Albany State College. So he moved us from Chicago to the segregated South, where I heard the governor use the N-word, and it left an indelible mark on my heart, and I've been Black ever since. So, but these millennials are becoming Black as they become aware of their experiences. So they show up believing that everything is equal until something happens. And what happened was the election of President Obama, the disrespect of President Obama, the George Zimmerman verdict, and then the subsequent killings. And so we see their identity and authenticity manifesting around Blackness. And we see that through Black Lives Matters and the Dream Defenders and through Black Twitter. So we have this Blackness movement, but we've got these different segments: assimilated, worldly. If you look at that mindset, not that people fall neatly into that, because people kind of go in and out. And then you have the insulated millennials. That's an example of how we are different. And then we have the African Black people, and then we have the Caribbean Black people who will say hello, my sister and my brother, to me and to you, Dr. Vibe, my brother, but they don't necessarily really hang out with us because they don't have that lens. However, society tends to treat them, or try to treat them, the same way as African Americans. So we're very, very different from each other in very meaningful ways, and different from society. So it's important that marketers understand this, because they need to know where to engage them. Black Twitter and Black digital platforms are very, very popular on the internet. The internet's not this equalizer as marketers want to say it is. I mean, I'm all over the net, and these young people are all over the net, but they tend to congregate in spaces where there are others like them. So that's the importance of understanding the different segments. It's who you're talking to, how and where you engage them, and what do you say when you do engage them. And that was a mouthful. I'll give you guys a chance to respond.
No way the program can finish right after that. We're done.
That's a lot. It's a lot.
No, we're not.
It's a lot.
No, we're not, because
I was about to say, no, we're really not.
I need to go into how that translates. You know, so many of us who follow Dr. Vibe and other people on Blab, we're in business. And there are those of us who like to live and die through social media.
Yes.
And our preconceived notions of what our buying habits are. And you have some wonderful information in your book regarding how these different segments decide to make their purchases and decide who their allegiance goes to. So I'm just going to jump in and say, so would you expand on that, please?
But I think you have to first understand who your target is and who you're talking to. I mean, because that's important just across the board, Black, white, Asian, or whatever. And in addition to looking at demographics, age and income and where people live, it's important to look at those psychographics, like that information that I just gave you, in terms of what do people believe and what's important to them and what are they doing and what makes them happy, aside from your product or your service. That's how you identify your product or service. And then, because you can't be all things to all people. I talk to some of the smartest business owners in the world, and they could be a small business owner or a large corporation. And when I ask them who their target is, sometimes people don't know, or they don't know specifically. They kind of, it's a fuzzy, or they say my target is everybody. And it's never everybody. It's never, ever, ever everybody.
Never.
But believe it or not, that's something that people haven't quite figured out. So
Absolutely.
once you start there, you start with identifying your target. Even if you can't do a research study, you have to come up with some hypothesis about who they are. And then you do your best to deliver your brand promise to them. I am a big proponent of mission statements. I think a lot of people have these mission statements. I think, Donna, you talked with me about that too several years ago. It is so important. So the work that I do is research, but my mission is to add value to the African American market. That's my mission. It's also my ministry. And I use research to get there. So that's why I wrote these books, because they add value. When I blog for Advertising Age, it adds value. When Dr. Vibe invites me on the show and I can share these insights, I am adding value. And I can't tell you how important that is. And that everything that you do, everything that you do should be about your mission. Now, you have an opportunity at any time to change your mission. Sometimes people get locked into this. Well, I said that this is what I was doing, but if you're not feeling it, change it. It's okay. You can change your mission statement. But I believe in working from a mission statement and understanding who your target is. Now, my target for years has been large corporations that have an interest or some kind of investment in the Black consumer marketing, but that's changing. I would do work for some smaller businesses, but the kind of research that we did was important, and it was important for me to plant the seeds. But I'm repositioning myself now, which is why this show is timely, is to carry the message to mainstream audiences. And you'll hear about that later. I bought a couple of domain names that I'm going to be working on as I carry the message to mainstream Black and white audiences, but it's still it's still our story because people are ready to hear it now. Um, Consumers didn't want to hear it now, but I am so sad about the over policing, but it is bringing more attention to the Black community. And people are starting to see that we are treated differently because when Barack Obama was elected, or even when Rosa Parks, when we got to sit in the front of the bus, it goes back as far then that there's post-racial that we're equal, even though we're not treated equal and the laws are not equally in our favor. So I'm switching my focus from corporations a bit to more mainstream because I think it's time, and it's just time. It's just time. But I'm still adding value, but it's still time.
No problem, Donna. I'm going to have to let you go because there are some people waiting. But thank you so much for
thank you, Donna.
And continue to the side. No problem. Thank you.
That's my girl.
Okay, Leon Henry from England. You wanted to come on. He's in.
Oh, he's ready.
I love it.
All right. And Avalaura, if you have any comments or questions, I'm just steering it because I know it's going to be serious.
No, those were some good questions that were asked, and they were actually questions that I was interested in as well. And so what is your vision now for what you're going to be doing with smaller businesses now? Because we need you. So I appreciate that.
Well, again, I think it's just taking those, people in business, we are always looking for the big idea. And actually, the big idea is usually something very simple. And I really believe that if you add, and I get a little woo-woo here, but if you add more of a mission to your business, I read someplace, and I think it might have been Oprah Winfrey, who said the purpose of life is to serve. Like, I love what Dr. Vibe is doing. So he has this radio show, but really the core of his show is about serving people. And he opens it up and talks about being blessed and what is the last part that you say? You're here to
blessed, highly favored, magnet for miracles, and the
solutions to someone's problems. Right,
but
that's very, very powerful. And that's very, very powerful. And I think because if your focus is always on the money, then you're missing out on huge opportunities. And sometimes you can get the money, but can you keep the money? Or it'll be harder to get the money. But if you do more purposeful work in your business, if you add more purpose to your business, the ideas will come. I promise you they will. I mean, I did this work because I saw a terrible need and an opportunity for Black people to have value. And I enjoy doing that too. So I think that's something that I would suggest to small businesses. It's the big ideas come from there. The other thing is to read, even if it's reading novels that you enjoy, reading the trades. We have to read more. A lot of ideas come from reading. When I talk about our historical lens, I read that somewhere because Dr. Naeem Akbar said it first. Dr. Naeem Akbar said that was the only characteristic that distinguished us from other ethnic segments. And it's been a link to the insights that I share with my audience. Reverend Jeremiah Wright said, different is not deficient. Oh my God. That has been part of my foundational platform when I speak to companies. I am speaking next week for the 6th time at Procter & Gamble. Next week on the 13th, they're having a big celebration for My Black is Beautiful, and they're having these African American insights. And it's historic because the CEO will be there, as well as the global brand officer who's hosting this half-day conference for the company. And the half-day conference is all about Black people. But when I said to the global officer that different is not deficient, he was like, oh my God, you need to come and say that. and talk for 20 minutes with Soledad O'Brien, I may add. But it all comes from reading and opening up your mind so you can plant a seed for yourself, and then you can take that seed and share it with others. So it's very, very simple, but those are ways that can get you to the big idea and the next level. So we have your gentleman here that has a question.
Yes, he's right over from England, and he is a marketing man too. So he's certainly, it's welcome, Leon. Thanks. And he's been such a great servant, I know, to Avalaura, to myself, and to many others. So we're very happy to have Leon Henry in the room. So what is up, Leon?
Very good evening, highly blessed and favored, and more importantly, Miss Miller. It's a pleasure and a great honor to be here with you, your presence, and thank you much for taking your time out to come on your show. It's really, really, really inspiring to me to hear you, Dr. Vibe, talk about you so much. I really had to say, listen, I am going to stop everything and listen to this young lady. Okay, so this is why I'm here today. I'm going to be I'm going to be very, very quick because I'm going to be mindful of your time. I've got some pressing questions on marketing, so we're going to talk marketing talk. So I'm not going to make it too diverse, but from a person in this space from the US, what sort of growing trends have you seen in the marketplace, and what sort of change has happened from online and offline? Is there been some new data that you can give us some insights about at all?
Well, I am in the market research space, and the market research space that I'm in is with the African American market. So when we talk about trends, I think one of the trends that we talk with clients about are with the Black millennials, as I mentioned earlier, and how they are discovering they're rethinking what it means to be Black. The Black millennials, that's one of the biggest trends in the Black consumer marketing space. And so what that looks like then is we see more, as I said earlier, more digital platforms. And some of them are even starting magazines. I'm always amazed at that as marketers, particularly shave budgets from print and radio, how a lot of the millennials are even starting hardcover magazines. But the biggest news, one of the biggest trends, is that they are rethinking what it means to be Black. So we see things like the Afro Punk Festival. It's been around for years, but it's growing. Yeah. It's huge, and it's now in Europe. We see Blavity.com, which is a political website. Then there's Black Violin. There's still Black Girls Run, Black Girls Rock. There's still this Blackness, right. Black Girl Magic, Black Girls Graduate. So there's still this a growing attachment for Black that was not at one time there. A lot of our young people didn't want to talk about our history. They felt that we were beyond that. So that's big. And what it means, again, to marketers is that they have an opportunity to reach and connect with these young people, where they congregate. I mean, there's tons of trends. I mean, again, with the Black consumer market, the natural hair movement is absolutely huge. Yeah, well, and it's not a trend, it is a standard. It is, natural hair has become a new standard, and now it's a standard. And so with emphasis, and what's been happening with the natural hair movement, as women become more and more caring about their hair and using natural ingredients, we're seeing more and more of a holistic lifestyle starting to evolve with this as well. Eating more healthy, but it was interesting that it started with the hair. So those are a couple of trends, and what has happened in the marketing industry is multicultural marketing is going away as we know it. there is what's called total market. And total market is definitely about reaching a larger market. Now, I think it's a mistake given that the country is becoming more brown. You would think we need to have more insights around multicultural marketing. But as I wrote in an article that will be published soon, that a lot of marketers have been bamboozled by total market. So total market is supposed to be inclusive. It's supposed to identify where the trends are coming from a particular segment, and then you do a deeper dive on that segment, and then you use those trends to reach a larger segment. But that's not happening. What marketers did was they got rid of multicultural centers of excellence that they had in their companies. What they did was to take money from Black agencies and give it to general market agencies. What they've done is taken Black budgets or increase budgets for Hispanic marketing because they are growing larger than any other segment, but African Americans still have the highest influence. So as a result, though, of total market, it's really not working because everybody has a different definition, and many marketers have been losing Black customers and Black households as a result of it. So the pendulum is starting to swing back the other way in terms of favor of looking at this Black audience with a deeper, more purposeful, caring eye than ever before, which is probably why, too, Procter & Gamble is doing that big African American Marketing Day next week.
Great stuff.
So those are some of the Black trends. I know you were probably looking for something broader, but that's the space that I work in.
No, this is the key element here. I think because I will just touch on that because it could be an international market as well. I am definitely focusing on this particular segment place to understand it more because that's what the data reveals, and obviously this is the subject at the moment. So again, taking the companies like Nielsen Research, do you see this data? Is it that accurate? Are they coming to you specifically to get this data?
No, so Nielsen does their own. They have their own data, and I wrote the 2013. Our company was a big contributor to the 2013 Nielsen report. So they have their own data because they have reach into millions and millions of households. And then Nielsen recently bought Arbitron, I think, the radio measurement company. So they measure all things radio now and all things TV, and then packaged goods, automobiles, investments, travel. So they go to their database and they run all this data and they come up with this. I mean, it's just tons and tons and tons of data, but they get it from their audience because they have their Nielsen boxes in people's households. And so then they go back and they do research with these people and they track what they watch, they track what they do, and they have really, really, really good reports. So they have good reports for Asians, African Americans, Latinos, LGBT, and you can go online and download those reports. They are free. I highly, and they're free and they're current. They're up to date. So they're excellent reports. And I suggest that you follow them on Facebook and Twitter. I think they even have an African American group that you can join if there's questions that you want answered. It can be very helpful. But as the smaller business is building their competitive platform, even though they may not have competitive information in their local area, they can talk broadly about what's happening in different areas and use the Nielsen research. I suggest you use it. It's great information. That's a good question.
Yeah, definitely. No,
just before I go any further, at JW Speak says, "Yep, they have some awesome reports. I use them for my webinars with doctors."
Yeah.
What what Pepper is saying, is right on. And also, just want to thank some people who have joined in. +_1+. We also have joining in Alan at Alan Lewis _10. Also, we just mentioned at JW Speaks, and also the Askia Jones. And
Oh, he's
Yes.
the B status. Oh.
Benita. So if anyone would like to join in, just touch base with me on the side. Leon, sorry to interrupt. I just wanted to give shout outs so people continue your questions.
Oh,
Wonderful.
great.
I'm gonna again. I'll be mindful of your time because other people, there's a lot of people want to get in and ask you some amazing questions.
Sure. That's a good
You're
question.
asking good questions.
Well, exactly. Going on resources for people or small business owners. Any your favorite few that we can look at, even from an international perspective. I don't know if you touch in that area whereby you reach out internationally for people of color and you get that data so we can look at. Is there anything that you can say at the top of your head?
You know, I know in the United States, one of the most unused resources is the business librarian. I use them an awful lot, particularly too when I was working with small businesses. So I live in Chicago, and so our main library is the Harold Washington Library Center downtown. But even the local libraries in the community are huge resources, and many of these libraries, particularly some in the Black neighborhood, would even have Black research reports. I remember in Chicago here, there is the Woodson Library in a Black community, but one of the librarians that worked there had purchased some, and this was before Nielsen was as popular as it is now, but they purchased some recent African American studies. But one of the things that the librarians can do too, they can do runs for you. Sometimes they charge a fee, but it's worth it. The business librarians are an extremely wonderful secondary resource for small businesses. So you can go there with your questions and ask them to help you with your questions. Now, sometimes they can do a particular run for you at the library, and sometimes that's a minimal charge, or it might be free, or they can direct you into a lot of periodicals and books and online resources where you can get information. I still use them to this day. And in fact, you know, as for I was doing a lot of market snapshots, and I used for my secondary research. These snapshots, it would be information about different segments of the African American population, and it had demographics and psychographics. And I used a wonderful resource or a business librarian to do all of my secondary work. So that's a wonderful, wonderful opportunity. Is to use them. And then it sounds crazy, but Googling, still Googling articles and knowing how to type in, I just suggest writing in your sentence. It sounds crazy. Write in whatever you want. And it does come up. And then what happens is some articles come up. And there's some wonderful, there's some wonderful organizations, you know, the Black Youth Project. I mean, there's tons and tons and tons of studies out there now. What is your area of interest that you are interested in? Maybe I could help you. Yes. Yeah.
I don't think we've got enough time to talk about my own interests, obviously, because I want to be mindful of everybody else. I would love to answer that. But it's short. I'm really focused. I'm a marketer, and I do work for a lot of companies. I've got all sorts of interest, but I try to feed back to the people that I do work. Can you hear me okay? Because it's frozen, but
yeah, that's you're, but I could still hear you though. So
okay, yeah.
I don't know how the library system is in the UK. I don't know if it's up to or exceeds our system, but I know our systems here are wonderful. But you know what you can do is, even if you are in I haven't done a lot of international work at all. I've written an article for OTC, the over-the-counter magazine, which is an international magazine that was related to the pharmaceutical industry. But I don't know. I just found quite a bit from business librarians giving me secondary research. They were wonderful.
Leon, I'm going to give Leon one more question, then I got someone else who wants to jump in. So go ahead.
Exactly. It's Brian. This was the exiting point, and you really hit home here from an international perspective. How can we help to promote your book here in the United Kingdom? All right. So this is your chance.
This is my turn. Well, I mean, Black Still Matters in Marketing, or blackstillmatters.com is how you can find my book, or you can Google it. The Hunter Miller Group. You can tweet me, Pepper Miller. I'm on Twitter. That's a good way to share information about the book, because I have the book, the background of the book there. So tweeting me, finding me on Twitter, Pepper Miller, blackstillmatters.com, or the Hunter Miller Group.com as well. And thank you very much for that. Very, very kind of you.
And if she has some time and she's really kind, she'll be back on in the near future.
Right. And I could stay on a few minutes over, Dr. Vibe, because I know we'll be running out of time. It's no problem.
Wow. It's a pleasure and a great honor to meet you today. And I want to enjoy your evening.
My pleasure. Thank you. I love that bow tie too. Thank you.
It goes with the territory. Come on.
Take care, my man. Be well. Okay, that was
Pepper. You don't know what you just did. He's so fanatical about research. Now he's just going to be even more fanatical. So arm him with more tools.
Ryan Perez, if you can jump on. Avalaura, do you have any questions as Ryan Perez jumps in? And thanks to John McClure and Tachi for jumping on. Also at Sierra_Autumn. Thank you so much for jumping in. I'll get Ryan Perez on. Avalaura, do you have any questions as we get Ryan Perez in?
So Pepper, with your books, and I know you said one of the things, your mission is really to serve, but what was your intention for writing the books? What do you want, what do you want us to get out of them?
It's adding value to the African-American market. I am telling the stories that rarely get told. It is our truth that we don't hear. And that fits right into my mission. So with the first book, this was like 2005, What's Black About It? That was a question that Tom Burrell of Burrell Communications in Chicago would ask his team when they would come to the table to evaluate creative, or, what's Black about that? And he did that to challenge his team to go deeper and to pull out insights. And so I show a lot, I talk about a lot of advertising and give them examples of different advertising to help marketers see what Black people see that maybe mainstream does not see, and why that's important to us. So again, it's all about adding value, telling our stories. I had to write the second book because in 2006, there was no Barack Obama. There was no Facebook as we know it today. There was no constant contact, email marketing. There was no Twitter. I mean, there was none of that in 2006. So I had to write Black Still Matters in Marketing. And because marketers were still, I felt, making the same mistakes, and we were still this big underserved segment. So I had to talk about that more, and then talk about what was happening in the digital space here as well. But it's all about adding value to this segment.
All right. Well, from Calgary, we have Ryan Perez, nicely clean shaven. What's up, Ryan?
Hey. Well, I had to change because I was like, I'm not going to get on camera looking like a bum. So
you got beautiful skin.
Yeah, thank you very much. I have to say first, before I ask my question, that this lab was food for my soul. I do small business marketing over here, and it's always nice when people come, with the approach of research, because research is so important in developing brands and executing good strategies. So, this warms my heart. So thank you so much.
And thank you
for
saying that. And it's nice to see, it's nice to see Black men too, in this space and talking about this and the importance of research. When I started out, we didn't have a lot of Black researchers, and definitely not a lot of Black men. So and you said that so well. That was just very, very well said about the importance of research and helping to build brands. I'm glad you came on and to say that. Do you have any questions?
Yeah, the question is, you know, I hear a lot of people, they want to engage the Black community through commerce, through business. However, I feel like there's a huge need in the community, like, because we have a lot of social movements, and I think the social movements need to understand marketing as well.
Yes.
Because it seems like the social movements, because, like, for example, I live in Canada, and we have so many different cultures. We have Caribbean culture, and then within the Caribbean culture, there's all these subcultures.
That's right.
My question is, do you get a lot of nonprofits and community organization approaching your services, and are there ways for community, like are there any resources right now for community programs to better understand their audience? Because I think everyone thinks just because we're Black that I understand, but you know, when I get into a blab, for example, and I talk to, like, if we're talking about a social issue, you know, everyone's like, well, Black people eat this. No. Well, I'm from Africa, and we eat this.
Yeah.
So we need to find a way to bridge those gaps before we start, you know, promoting, etc. So anyway, are there resources for community leaders and nonprofits, etc.?
Well, I think what you said earlier rings true for nonprofits as well. They need to do the same thing mainstream marketers do. And maybe you missed the conversation earlier, but how we talk about how Black people are not only different from mainstream, but we are different from each other in very meaningful ways. We're very, very, very segmented group. And there have been a lot of studies that talk about how we're segmented. The other answer to your question is yes, I have done quite a bit of work for nonprofits. Some of them are the larger nonprofits, the Chicago Symphony Orchestra, Chicago History Museum, AARP, St. Jude Hospital are some organizations that I've done work with. And so what these organizations understood, as most businesses are going to have to kind of step back when they look at America because it's becoming more brown. And so you can't do things the same way because these brown people are bringing with them their own culture and their own beliefs and their own behaviors in terms of how they deal with brands in a different way. So doing research to understand that is important. St. Jude Hospital, Children's Hospital here in the States, is a huge hospital, and they wanted to get more Black donors. And I already knew what could help them already, even when they called me, it was just even show more Black children. I mean, it's very foundational. They need to understand this, but they weren't even showing Black kids in there. I mean, I did tell them that, but so we went around and we did these research and these focus groups, and so they can hear from the Black community how important it was for them to see that their dollars that they're contributing is also helping Black children. And so you see more of that. AARP wanted to understand how to get more people to become AARP members. Now, I think there's a lot of people across the board that gets AARP confused with the insurance that they include in their mailings, but that's not who they are. They are a social mission company and they're the service company. So a lot of people, Black people, didn't understand that. And even though the fee was minimal, to join, African-American people in particular, because they didn't see that with their non-Black people were joining and participating, but we were not. And they wanted to understand. But again, it was, what is AARP? What is the fee for? And then how is it relevant to me and my lifestyle as a Black person? So the same thing with the Chicago History Museum and the Chicago Symphony Orchestra. How are these organizations relevant to the community? Do you have programs, exhibits that would attract the audience? It's something as simple as that. That a lot of the nonprofits didn't understand. Or maybe they understood, but they needed to do research so they can have support to show it to their board members and their other constituents. So so that whatever is happening with mainstream brands, and how they market to, or how they prepare to go to market, in terms of understanding their customers, it is the same thing that nonprofits must do as well.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much.
Oh, thank you.
I'll hop down.
All right. Thanks, Ryan. Much appreciated. Anyone else wanting to jump in? We probably got about 15 minutes left with Pepper. Avalaura, any questions? Or if not, I have a few if you want to. Go ahead.
I did see one on the side where somebody asked about what's the age range.
Yeah,
for
so millennials are 18 to 35. I think the Gen Xers are 36 to 51 or 52, and then boomers are 52 and older. So 18 to 35 is typically the age range for millennials. And many marketers, it depends on what the product is for millennials, but they don't always necessarily go as young as 18. They may go 22, 25 to 35. And what's happening is, because the 18-year-olds are different from the 35-year-olds. The 35-year-olds are becoming parents. They're getting married. They're buying homes. They're settling in to their jobs and their new lifestyle of adding responsibility. But they still have that broad mindset of fairness, social mission. That is true for Black millennials as well as non-Black millennials. Yes.
Well, we have Jessica.
Looks like we have a millennial on the hot seat. Looks like it anyway.
Millennial. I don't know too much.
You look like a millennial from here. So if you're not, we won't have to tell anybody.
Lord knows.
Yeah, I wasn't gonna say anything.
You got to class a lot, but I've been out of school for a good minute. So.
All righty.
But anyway, Pepper, thank you so much, and I apologize for calling you by your first name. I'm just.
It's Pepper is fine. My birth name is Persephone. That's a whole nother show.
Oh,
but Pepper.
Oh my gosh, I love it. Though.
Wow.
Greek mythology. Yeah, yeah.
Wow.
That's a whole nother show.
Thank you for coming on and just
emphasizing
the importance of research.
Yes.
I run the jawresearchinstitute.com, and I was kidding along with my friend here. Now he wrote me a big old long blur. I'm gonna have to read that later. But I was telling him to Google it. But
right.
And that was a joke, dude. That was a joke. All right. So anyhow, back to you, Miss Miller. I'm gonna connect with you offline for sure. But I want to ask you. You said something about the business library. Now, extension of the actual public libraries that we have in each state?
Oh no, it's within the libraries. Usually a library will have a business section where you can get business periodicals and your whatever.
Yeah.
But there are business librarians that manage that. And they are absolutely wonderful.
Okay.
Wonderful.
Okay.
It's also not a bad idea to even look to hire retired business librarians to do secondary research for you too, because they're excellent. Because what happens with research, and I found this out too, as I was doing a lot of secondary research, I made the mistake of hiring writers, and people want to write, but the beauty of research is you have to dig and dig and dig, and people tend to give up, and a lot of business owners tend to give up. I mean, it's something that I like, but I want to understand more, or there's another article mentioned within this article, so I'm going to read that. And it takes a lot of time, but it will get you there. So the business librarians, this is what they do. And maybe even if some of your budgets don't work for the business librarians, you might look for students majoring in library science from a college, because I've done that as well.
Okay.
And they can do a lot of secondary research for you, because it's not about the writing, it's about the digging and exploring. So you can't make that mistake. I made that mistake for years, hiring the wrong people. Yeah.
This is great information. Wow.
I've been to the business section, but I didn't see a business librarian there. So I'll definitely look for that the next time.
Look for that, and and sometimes they could even tell you some some schools that,
Mm-hmm.
again, particularly have students that major in that area, and they can be a wonderful resource. I went to one school. I went to a school of psychology here in Chicago, and I worked with the master's degree students. That master's level is someone who's a little bit more mature, too. No offense to the younger people, but they're a little bit more mature and they can stay a little bit more focused. And one of the things I did too is I put teams of people together to work on projects. And so I worked with them, and they got, where they could get credit for that as well. So you work with the schools so they can get credit, and you outline things and what's the end result. And my end result was this market snapshot, thing. So that's something that you could do.
Ms. Miller, we got to talk.
All right, just reach out to me on Twitter or my
happy. She's like doing a happy dance over there.
Everybody can reach out. I always answer people's emails. I always take the time. Because people took some time for me. Anytime.
Okay, will do.
Anytime.
See you
all right.
later.
I'll let y'all
one more question about speaking really quick, and then I'll get off. Speaking. Yes. So I looked over your website really quick. Like I said, I'm a researcher, so I do it fast.
Yes.
I've seen you spoken for McDonald's. You've spoken for a lot of big
yes,
and things to that effect.
Right.
Did they come to you, or did you come to them? Did you pitch yourself more often than not?
They usually come to me because I think what helped me was writing, because I wrote the books. But if you blog, if you have a point of view that it might be a little controversial or different or something that can help them, you can speak, or you can do workshops. And a lot of times when people, when I hear the word workshop, I think about people sitting around and breaking out in the breakout session. And so that's not even a workshop. It's you getting up there talking and then you're out of there. I mean, that's really what it is a lot. I'm like,
speaking in a smaller group.
So, but you have to demonstrate your knowledge in a certain area and how you can help them.
Now, another question,
and you'll be fine. Yes.
Additional on top of that, now, do you recommend just sticking to one topic as per se, going over several topics? Let's say if I am a motivational speaker and I want to speak about relationships. Let's put it that way. I want to speak about relationships and motivate people to stay in relationships, blah, 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 blah.
Yes.
But I also speak on staffing and keeping, your staff uplifted and happy. Well,
I think as a motivational speaker, you probably are expected to be able to talk about different topics. But how you have to think about how you are distinguishing yourself from other motivational speakers. So what is it that you know this, what is it that you are bringing to the table that the other people aren't? And so in that way, maybe you have two umbrellas. Maybe you can do corporate, maybe you call it corporate, and then you call it, I don't know what you call the other thing that's not corporate, not non-corporate, but maybe something sexy that you come up with for your relationships and that thing. But you should do, if you don't know what to do, you should do what you love. If you are confused, what is it that motivates you to be a motivational speaker? And if it is relationships, then be the best relationship person you can be. And then talk about try to find something that's unique to you that no one else is talking about. Like in relationships, for example, one of my favorite books is the 5 love languages.
Oh, yeah.
It is, but you know what? I think there's an opportunity to use that book to do workshops, to go deeper, because people are still missing the point with that. They are still not getting it. Showing someone else, giving other people what they need in terms of how they love people. As a woman who married the same guy twice and got divorced twice because he didn't read the book. But I think there's opportunities for you. That's right. I'm telling you that.
I'm pretty sure you
that book
afterwards.
That book, people are not getting that, and so maybe that's something that you can help you distinguish yourself if you love relationships, because that is absolutely huge. The communication piece, that's huge. So think about that.
Jessica, I'm cutting you off because you go on now.
I got one more question, but I'm gonna put
no. What I'm gonna do? I'm gonna stop you now. No, because she's gotta go soon. She's gotta go soon. We got people waiting.
Oh, okay.
Reach out to me. Reach out to me. Yeah.
Last question, and I swear I'm gonna X out. Last question is: what if the thing that gives you passion, that motivates you, doesn't make much money? And that's it. Okay, bye.
Well,
bye.
That's a belief, and that may be an erroneous belief, because I mean, God is your source. You got to believe in something. It's not it's not these books. It's not the business. God is my source. And so I'm learning to worry less about that. But then but if you believe that it's not going to make money, then it's not going to make money. I am a big proponent of I am. I learned that from Muhammad Ali. Do not attach I am with anything that you don't want. Do not attach I am with anything you don't want. Reverend Derek Wells, I heard this minister say that at this New Thought church. And I absolutely love that. So I'm always, I am happy. I am successful. I will make money with this business. I can do XYZ. It's part of my own personal truth statement. So what you believe becomes real. People, people tell me, and I mean, I haven't been a zillionaire with this. It's been a lot of ups and downs with this business too. But I've done well. I've done well. I'm very grateful. Don't get me wrong. It gets tight sometimes, but I'm doing great. I'm doing great because I believe it. I believe it, and I see it.
I'm gonna let Ahmed in as the last person. But Jessica, two other things I'm gonna suggest you, Jessica. Find the need and fill it. Don't find the need and kill it.
Woo! I love that.
And also, as someone who does a lot of speaking, have 2 or 3 keynotes. Don't just have one, have 2 or 3 keynotes that you can really nail it for an organization or group. 2 or 3 keynotes, and you can master 2 or 3, and you're good to go. Ahmed coming in as our last person for the evening. Here we go.
Hello.
Ahmed.
Hey, Ahmed, what's up?
I just have a quick question for Pepper.
Yes.
What type of marketing or niche field have you seen in marketing to Black or African Americans that are affluent? So go ahead.
Well, there's a woman, I think Andrea Hoffman, who wrote a book on marketing to the affluent African American, and it's still cars, automobiles. She's done well with that. Travel is absolutely huge, not only to affluent African Americans, but African Americans across the board. We over-index in terms of travel, and we over-index in terms of international travel. So, we were driving. Many of us still do driving, and then we started venturing off the continent and going a little bit down to the Caribbean, and now we are in Europe, and we're in Lisbon, and the Nielsen research has they have information on travel. At least I know 2013, the one that I worked on, but I think they have picked that up again. But they have travel, and then there's Black travel magazines. There is a Black travel study. If you Google the African American travel study, it should come up, and you should be able to see how Black people are traveling. So that's across the board, but particularly with the affluent African Americans. Also investing for African Americans is different. We still tend to be a lot more conservative because we've done some work with high net worth African American influencers that have at least 5 million and above. For mainstream, it was like 30 and 40 million, but for us, it was 5 million of attainable assets. And they all talked about being very conservative because their money was earned. It wasn't inherited. So they had a very different mindset about that. So that's an area to explore for the affluent. And then still, things that are badges for us, badge value, clothes, cars, jewelry, alcoholic beverages. Those things are still very important to us and important for the affluent, and particularly real estate and real estate investments. So those are some of the areas. And you might want to look up Andrea Hoffman's book on marketing to the affluent African American. And there have been some blogs on that as well. And that can give you some more resources.
I just want Ahmed to tell what you do to
Yes.
Pepper Mill, because it's very interesting. You mentioned some of that stuff. So go ahead.
And art. All right.
So I'm an investment banker. I basically have an African American investment fund, and we buy distressed assets nationwide and look to keep people in their homes and things like that.
Oh, that's wonderful. That is wonderful. I'm trying to think, because a lot of those that research study that I did, it was proprietary, but one of the things that we learned too with the study, and people who were not multimillionaire affluent, but definitely were earning six figures for a long time, they said that they were comfortable talking with investment bankers that were not of color. But as we talked with them a little bit more, we learned that they really did kind of want to talk with a person they wanted to talk with a person who understood their culture. Let me just say that. And they felt that Black people might most likely be able to do that, but a non-Black person could do it as well, because they just had a different story, and maybe it was the story of not inheriting the money and how they earned, and they wanted to be able to tell that story so the person could understand them, and then recommend investments that are more meaningful. And it sounds like the work that you're doing is obviously they want to get their return on it, but that sounds absolutely wonderful. I would love to hear more about your work and what you are doing. I hope you can reach out to me, Pepper at huntermillergroup.com, or find me on Twitter, because maybe I could connect you with some people or something. I think what you're doing is great.
Definitely, Pepper. We'll make that happen, because yes. Ahmed and I chat a lot. So if you're open to it, we can set up a conference call in the near future.
Oh, that would be great. Okay. That would be my pleasure.
Thank you. Okay. Thank you, Dr. Lau. Thank you, Pepper.
All right. Thank you.
All right. All right. I think we have come to the end, because we went a little.
I want to stay all day.
Wow, that was so fast. That was really fast paced.
Well, I'm a little catty.
Okay, so. You know what? So actually, there's another question from Ryan Perez. What about persuading people not buying skin bleaching cream based on what you know about subcultures? How can you use the data to persuade away from mainstream cultural assimilation? That's a heavy question.
Well, it is, and it's that's again. That's why my work is purposeful. I know in other countries, I think, like in Brazil, I've been to Bahia, Brazil, a couple of times, and once I was doing some work there. But I noticed that the Black culture, Black people are very beautiful there, but they seem to be very even behind the Black people here in the States, and so they celebrate the mixed race cultures and long hair, the women and the lighter skin. And so darker skinned people across the globe are perceived as less than. If you're a darker skinned East Indian, or you're darker skinned Latino, and in Asia, it's all about pure white porcelain skin. That's part of their culture. So the predominant culture, who in some cases believes that lighter skin is better, it impacts the people with darker skin. So the bleaching cream comes into play because people want to be accepted. They want to be accepted and they want to be celebrated. So it's a belief, and it's a self-esteem issue, and sometimes it's a cultural practice in some places. So we can't solve all the problems of the world, but that's something that I see too, and that I've been aware of. I saw that one of the first times when I went to Bahia, Brazil, and I asked, where are the Black people? And I insulted people. I mean, when I went 3 years ago, it was different, and that was in 2000. And I don't know when I went the first time. It might have been 2004, and then I went back 10 years later. It was different. So yeah, that's an issue. Dark skinned people, we have an issue.
Okay, I'm probably going to shut it down because your audio is getting a little bit fuzzy. Avalaura, do you have any final questions, comments?
I'm good. I know you had some questions. You didn't ask your questions.
What? I can get those answered offline. This is everyone's show. I can get my questions answered offline. I just want to make sure everyone, if you enjoyed the show tonight, if you give it a 7, I'd appreciate it. If you want Pepper back, put a 7. Let's put it that way.
I'll definitely be back, because we were going to continue our series on Black and why it matters, and focus in on some topics. And maybe one of the things that I was hearing though from your audience is they want some answers for their businesses, and I do think I need to be more prepared to answer those questions as well, because these are business people, and I'd like to know maybe ahead of time what are some areas that they like to talk about that it would be helpful for them. But I would love to.
We'll make that a plan. So,
all right,
people, you have my Twitter handle, and if you have some questions, business questions, especially if they involve research for Pepper, we can get them to her ahead of time so she can answer them fully.
Absolutely.
But she rocked the house tonight. So Pepper, Avalaura, much thanks to you.
Avalaura, yes, thank you so much. Thank you, Dr. Vibe. Dr. Vibe, you the bad. You the man. You bad. You're the man. You're just a lovely, 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 lovely man. A lovely man. Thank you.
Well, before we finish up and before I start blushing, Avalaura, if people want to get in touch with you, how can they touch base with you?
I'm Googleicious. You can find me everywhere. Avalaura, Avalaura. That is my website, Avalaura. I'm on Twitter, Facebook, Google Plus, LinkedIn.
Yeah,
I'm on everything.
I mean, LinkedIn too. It's a good place to reach out to me too. Is on LinkedIn.
Yes, that's the first place where I got you on LinkedIn. So yes, we're on LinkedIn, buddy.
And Pepper, if anyone wants to touch base with you, I know you mentioned it earlier on in the conversation. How can they get in touch with you?
I'm glad Avalaura mentioned Twitter, Facebook, and LinkedIn. My website, blackstillmatters.com, or pepper@huntermillergroup.com, or the Hunter Miller Group. I'm all over. You can Google me and you can find me, because my stuff is out there, and I'd be happy to answer any questions offline as well. It'd be my pleasure.
Excellent. That's fantastic. Putting up the link for blackstillmatters.com. So for myself, this has been a great labor of love, because Pepper and I have been working for the last 3 or 4 months.
You've been a sweetheart. I've been canceling, and thank you so much. I'm glad we were able to do it and we got it together. It's always good, Dr. Vibe. We gotta find a big opportunity for you too. It's coming.
Thank you. Well, I received that. And there's a website address to blackstillmatters.com. I would make a suggestion, and I'll put this on record. If you want to touch base with Pepper, she may not know who you is. So you want to touch with Dr. Vibe, and she'll probably get a hold of her a little bit quicker, Just putting it out there.
Okay, that's a good idea.
Because
Either or.
her and I have had a relationship for 3.5 years, so she knows if Dr. Vibe's coming to her with somebody. And I'm going to give a great live example. Avalaura, the first time you talked to Pepper, wasn't that a worthwhile 45 minutes?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. As everyone saw, they don't have to take my word for it. They experience it for themselves.
Thank you. Very cute. What are these little love things? What are these little things?
Those are called props.
Those are
so people are proving what they approve.
That's they're showing you love.
That is so nice. That is so cool. I love that. Thank you. And then people have question marks over here. What does that mean? That people didn't get their questions answered?
No, everyone got it answered. We covered everybody.
All right.
They did. Covered. But as Pepper said, since we've got her started on Blab, hopefully
I'll be back. I'll definitely be back.
Okay, good.
We're going to do our series.
We're going to do a series, Pepper and I.
I look forward to that.
And
Awesome.
As long as Avalaura is still out of her contract, we'll have her co-host. I'm going to say to Dr. Vibe, your host and producer of the award-winning Dr. Vibe show. As always, I'd like to say you're blessed and highly favored. You're a magnet for miracles, and you're a solution for someone's problem.
Someone's problems. All righty. All right.
Yeah.
Well, you guys, thank you so much. Everybody stay black.
We have no choice.
Good night, everybody. Take care.
All right. Good night. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Good night.